I spent 20 years as a journalist, primarily covering conflict and crises around the world. I did start off covering issues of violence, gang culture, gang violence in the United States. So I do have parallel experiences, drawing upon what I saw and heard in the United States, but also seeing how violence manifests internationally. When we talk about genital mutilation or sexual assault and conflict, things like this, trafficking, that in fact these issues manifest differently in the culture or region you're discussing, but they're not as far away as people think. I often find myself talking to young people, middle schoolers, high schoolers, and of course college-age students across the country, here in New York City, as far west as California, the Bay Area, down south, Atlanta, Texas, so forth. Wherever I go, it's at first I was struck by it, but now I expect it. Whenever I talk about these issues, either in a classroom with students or before an assembly, inevitably after I'm finished my talk, my lecture, my dialogue with these students, at least one, usually more, but one or two young women, students, will approach me afterwards, conveying their own tale of violence or assault, things like domestic violence and trafficking, sexual assault. There are a host of microaggressions that lead up to that point. Microaggressions don't manifest out of the blue. They don't manifest just instantaneously. They happen in situations, particularly among men, not necessarily solely men, but among men or among cultures that are seen or reinforced as being very masculine, or reinforcing or embracing presumably masculine characteristics. The thing about microaggressions is they're not just one-offs. It's a cycle, it's a process where they build on top of each other. And they build towards creating a climate, a situation, or too often incidents where someone's rights are violated or someone's safe space is violated. As a journalist and as an advocate, I feel like we blow them up in some ways larger than what they are. We make them too overwhelming, too intimidating, and they're not. I mean, I tell young people, especially young people and children all the time, whether you're in middle school, high school, college, or in the working world, personally I believe we're all born with an inherent power to exact change. History shows us this. I mean, if you look at the civil rights movement, if you look at the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, if you look at the movement in Northern Ireland, history shows us any number of movements where the role of children or youth were integral. But the first thing you can do is, one, educate yourself about the issue that you're facing, but more importantly than that, you have an individual capacity to affect change. Have a conversation about it. It's not necessarily a confrontation situation that can escalate to something more serious. One-on-one, showing mutual respect, you can impact someone's perception or someone's attitude by another person whom they may not be showing the proper level of respect. And sometimes, certain situations may present themselves that make it kind of challenging to step forward, to step up, because of the risk, it's not necessarily physical risk, but risk to our reputation. And that's something that everyone has to grapple with individually, but the capacity and power to address these issues is there in all of us.